Well, about the first thing I remember in my life was when I was about 4 years old, I think, and we had moved to Honcut, a white spot in the road up near Oroville, California. I remember this was a ramshackle old place. It had a well in the backyard, one where you lowered the pail to bring up your water. Once in a while, it would bring up a frog. The only toy I remember at that time was a broken umbrella that I used to spin as though it were a fan propeller or whatever. It was a toy. I went to work full-time for a small market in the neighborhood, and I worked for them for 5 years, and then I had an opportunity to go work for Coca-Cola Bottling Company as a route salesman, where I spent 2+ years. And while there, it looked like I may be brought into the war. So rather than being drafted, I took the cadet exam and passed, and was going for officer training and pilot training, and which I succeeded. And I graduated and got my wings in 1943. I had one series of 20 missions that my aircraft picked up battle damage from anti-aircraft fire and ground fire. But one of the worst was we had to go down at low altitude, and we really took a beating. On my plane, I had the top cylinders of my left engine blown off. My side window was blown out, and my hands froze up, although I had 3 pairs of gloves on. We had no heater in our aircraft. Made it back, and by gosh, that engine with the cylinders blown off would still kept plucking away until I landed, and when I got through my landing run, it conked out. And I had to taxi back to the hard stand on one engine and using the brakes. Those were my ugly moments. Resulted in I got 9 air medals, 4 battle stars, 4 battles I participated in, and I got the Distinguished Flying Cross. During all of this, I had my childhood sweetheart, Barbara Byrne. Barbara lived in the same neighborhood. Her family moved in. They bought a farmhouse just about a block and a half from where we built. And so I became acquainted with her in Sunday school, and along with her sister Marcia. And so we attended that same church, although it enlarged up until the time we got married. And the church wasn't big enough, so we got married in Westminster Presbyterian Church down by the state capitol. And that's the first time in my life I played to a full house. We must have 300 or 400 people there. During my marriage, we had 2 sons, Chuck and Dave. It was interesting. Due to the fact that Barbara played the piano, they both took piano lessons. Chuck's teacher, after 3 years, told him he'd make a better mechanic than a pianist. And Dave had the same teacher, and David went on, and he learned to play very well. We bought a boat from my nephew, my sister's son. We reworked it and painted it several times, reglassed the bottom 2 or 3 times. David got involved in the reglassing and so on. But Chuck's interest seemed to be around boats. For several years we had 4th of July parties in our backyard, and we'd buy the Safe and Sane fireworks and have a display at the back of the yard. Always had a wash tub back there to throw the remains in with a garden hose and having water in it, playing it safe. And we'd buy a keg of beer, and then towards evening we barbecue hot dogs and hamburgers and make quite a day of it. Invite all the neighbors and relatives and whoever. So we had some pretty good parties. We used to go up to Tahoe and around at Riverton we went to rent a little rustic cabin for a week, and later we were able to get it for a couple of weeks. And so we did a lot of vacationing in Tahoe, usually every summer, a week or 2. And once for our 40th anniversary, I rented a big new 3-story place right on the lake. It had its own cove down below. And I rented it for a month. And the first 2 weeks, I had Chuck and his family. And the second and third week had David and his family. And the fourth week we kept for ourselves. And that was 1 week where we were all there together. And that was really quite nice. I have been retired since 1982. Of course, today is the year of 2009, so I've been a retiree for quite a long time. Unfortunately, Barbara passed away in 1995. And sometime later, Betsy Sherman, who was living alone and I was living alone, we got together and joined forces, and we're good companions. We never married because we both had trusts, and we would have followed everything all up if we had. But we're the same as husband and wife, and getting together with Betsy has been a lifesaver. She's a good woman. Yeah. But my life has been a real good life. I've been very fortunate. Last 4 or 5 years, I've kind of suffered with ill health, but it's my turn, I guess. But I've sure been blessed.